Go ahead, Anna.
All right.
Ready?
I'm going to start with your name and then
Okay.
they'll start talking.
Okay, I'm Anna Olsoy, and I was born September 12th, 1927, in Brooklyn, New York.
So Anna, can you tell us what some of your earliest memories are of your parents?
Yes. As I said, I was born in Brooklyn, and we had a home there. Dad had built several of them. And I guess early on they were thinking going back to Norway because his mother was ill. And his dad was really very sorry and wanted his son to come home. But because of all this building and all the things, we stayed in Brooklyn until I was 5. And I can't remember much about Dad because he was busy working, but I can remember Mom taking me to the beautiful parks and the warm weather and the nice things we had there. And I can remember that they had vans that went around in the streets, and they came with fruits, vegetables that you could buy, bread, and all things. And I thought that was really nice. I don't know how much I remember, but I remember that from. And then we decided to go to Norway, my dad and his family. I had a brother, and he was 2. And we went to New York. Well, we lived in Brooklyn, but we went to New York, and we probably were up in the tower, Empire State Building, because my memories was I saw down below a lot of small people. And after I came back to Norway or a little older, I was saying, who were those small people? How come they were so small? And then another thing, I heard a siren. And to me, being 5 years old, I thought it was a dog. So maybe my folks said it. I don't know that it's the dog. But I thought with the siren, that was so scary. And I even have nightmares after I came to Norway, and I thought I heard those dogs. And it wasn't until we came back in 1949 to New York, and I heard a siren. We were staying in Brooklyn with some family, and I heard a siren. I thought, oh, that's the dogs. And then they said, well, that's not the dogs. That is the siren, So, but my folks never guessed that. So they thought, just funny that I thought of that. So those are the few things. And I remember when we went on the big ship, which was the Queen Elizabeth, and Queen Elizabeth II. And I can remember walking past the kitchen where they made the food, and it smelled. So I always had to have a hanky. 5 years old, and I had to have a hanky so I didn't smell when we walked past to the dining hall. And another thing that
Is that because you were seasick? You didn't want to get sick?
Well, I guess I didn't want to, but I didn't get seasick. I did another time, but not then. So anyhow, we had a very nice trip over, and I can remember a little cabin. And then we went to Arendal to visit Mom's relatives. That's southern Norway. And we were there for a few months because my father decided to help my aunt to repair something in the house, or make some addition to it, I guess. So we stayed there 2 months. And I can't remember too much about that. But then coming to Molde, we got a house outside of the city. And I got a lot of friends. They all came around to see me, and I had a tricycle, heavy built, beautiful tricycle. And even the big boys came to our house and wanted to ride it down the hill. And they got used a lot, and it wore out pretty fast. But because of that, I had a lot of friends. And I also had a friend that was very petite, and I was big. And she lived way up in the hill. And the road kind of went around, and not much of a road, gravel, and so on, to her house. But because I was from America, she wanted to and I got tired. I never walked that much, you know, and we had cement walks, whatever, in New York. So I guess I complained, and so she carried me. But then the neighbors around, they were saying, how come you're carrying this big old girl? You know, oh, she was from America, so she had to take her because she couldn't walk. And I and Oddbjörg, we're still friends today, and we often talk about it. But it was hard, she said, to get me. But otherwise, but it was pretty steep up there, though, I had to say that. So that was some of my memories. And then another thing is they made fun of me because I couldn't speak Norwegian. Mm. And
so you didn't learn it at home?
Well, they didn't do much on it. And my parents were very worried that I wouldn't be normal because I didn't want to speak a word Norwegian. Mm. And they tried to tell me, you know, so, but I starting to understand a little bit. But then they made fun of me. And I can remember this Oddbjörg, that girl that carried me, we were the best friends. And we were all through, even today. So she used to say, Anna, say confirmation. And I couldn't. And then they had so much sewing, and that was konfektion. So confirmation or confection was just a mix for me. Mm. And even, you know, I was getting older, you know, at the time, and I had a lot of trouble with that. And then when I talked, and even talked Norwegian, tried to, it was but. And then everybody, she's always say but. What's that, you know? And but. I was trying to talk, and they teased me about that. And then September, and what else have I got?
December.
And yeah, I couldn't get that. So then they used to say, because they always wanted to know about me. My name, for example, and guess what, it was only Anna. Mm. Well, that's very familiar. They thought I should be something fancy. And then another thing, when were you born? And then you see, I wouldn't know if it was December or September. So I said, when the apples are red. And that went over for years and years, even after I'd grown up. That yeah, and I've gotten some cards here sometime when the apples are red. So they thought that. But I finally learned. And Christian was 3 years older than me, lived in the countryside with his parents.
In Yelset?
Yeah, and then my grandparents lived there too. But they asked Christian, what do you think about that American girl? And he said, in a way, you know, who blir det gammal kärring utan peng? Which means she'll get an old lady with no money.
She'll end up being.
So I guess he thought that all the old ladies had no money. So those are some things that hung on for the many, many years. And still they talk about it. Yeah. So, but I started school. And I can't think too much about that. I think about that time I was 7 years. I was 7.5, because you had to be born before September in order to get into class. So I had to wait until the next year on it. But I can't have. I did fairly good in school, and we did pretty good. Had always had lots of friends, and. Some of my clothes were a little different and so on, and they were kind of curious. I think they thought it was fun to be friends with somebody from another country. Mm-hmm. So my childhood was very happy and busy, and got some skis, and winters was long and cold, but we didn't bother us. We went out in the snow and built little houses and everything, you know, snowmen, and went skiing, and soon, and really early, I even went with the older. Nancy was the girlfriend that lived just 3 houses from us. And she was 1 out of 13. And there were only 3 girls, the rest were boys. So the boys were very helpful, and we played together. And because of them being older, we were allowed to go skiing a little bit higher up in the mountains, because the older boys of Nancy would take care of us. So I learned to go skiing and did fairly good on that. So we had lots of fun. And that was my childhood. And it went fast. And I didn't know until 1940 when we were in school and sent home, and the war came, and different things got different.
Yeah.
Yeah, but everything worked out okay. We evacuated to Hjelset, which is 14 American miles from Molde. So it was just couple hours. But so we went there and stayed for 2 months, and April, and 17th of May we moved back into the city, because our house was standing, not in too good of a shape, but it was standing, and we moved in, and that was the start of the war years, and we survived beautifully, all of us.